Cal Albus is woken up from a dream by his adopted sister Ariel, who tells him they have arrived. On the ground, the two bid farewell to their family. He promises his adopted father, Michael, that he'll become an ace pilot and find the end of the sky. From the sea, their planes take off and they ride beside the large airship, Luna Barco. They head to the ceremony grounds where Nina, the provincial governor, tells the people about the floating island Isla and its origin. While the island leaves port, Cal glares at Nina with hatred. He's distracted when Ari announces that they'll come back as real pilots. Later, their plane lands badly, for which Ari berates Cal. They see another plane with a shaky landing, and Cal rushes to the pilot, Ignacio Axis, to comfort him, but the guy ignores him. He then meets his roommate, Noriaki, before getting into a fight with Ari, who rooms across his window. He notices the rude guy from earlier glaring at him and gets pissed. He rushes outside to look for him, but instead sees a girl who's having problems with her bike. He offers to fix it for her while she panics. The girl, Claire, needs to get home, and Cal offers to accompany her. On their way, they are met with clouds, which amaze them both, but a moment later, they crash on a lake. Laughing, they played on the water before sharing a special moment. Later, Cal discovers Claire is a noble when they reach the gate. Thinking about her makes Cal giddy. Later in town, Cal wishes to go to the noble district, as he's concerned about Claire, whom he's still yet to see. The two meet their classmates, Benjamin and Sharon. Suddenly there's a commotion, and they see Noriaki and Nanako from their class being ganged up by Fausto and some nobles from Class A. Wolfgang, who's also Cal's classmate, steps up and solves the situation. In their dorm, the Class B students cook and have their dinner. Cal is introduced to Mitsuo and Chiharu, who are also his classmates. The next morning, the Class B students meet their instructor, Juan. In class, the students are introduced to El Halcon, a multi-seat trainer, which they will be flying soon. While the students are choosing whom to pair up with for the training flight, Claire arrives. Ecstatic, Cal immediately rushes to her and offers to pair up with him. Fausto, a noble from Class A, speaks up and tells Cal he isn't worthy of her, but in the end, Claire agrees to be Cal's partner. In their flight, Claire turns out to be a good pilot, and she thanks Cal for being nice to her. As he gazes at the sky, Cal remembers his mother and his promise to become a pilot. After their training, Cal's friends meet Claire while in the distance. Ignacio observes Cal, knowing he's actually Carl Lahire, a former crown prince of the Balsteros Empire. In Class B's dorm, Claire eats curry with Cal and his friends for dinner. After Claire leaves for her curfew, Cal's classmates ask what the deal is between the two of them, but he doesn't admit to anything. The next day, Sonia, the instructor of Class A, is told by the higher-ups to speed up the students' education. During the lesson, Cal is having trouble shooting while on the El Falcon. Claire assures Cal she isn't bothered by what happened earlier. Afterward, Nanako mentions a rumor she heard about the former crown prince of Balsteros. He might have sneaked on board Isla to exact revenge on Nina. Cal insists that Carl Lahire died a long time ago. Later at night, Cal recalls what happened 6 years ago. Rebels under the control of Duke Amariano attacked the palace. Nina Viento, said to be the priestess of Saint Aldista, used her powers to control the wind and destroyed the Empire's flying warship. The royal family is then captured and the king beheaded. Before she's sent to the guillotine, Cal's mother told him not to hate, but to forgive. Cal is devastated and hated Nina ever since. Michael, a plane mechanic, decides to adopt Cal. The next day, Sonia has Cal fly with the students of Class A while they practice flying in formation. Fausto and the other nobles sabotage them, and their planes careen into the air before Cal manages to stabilize it. However, they become lost. Claire suggests landing the plane on the water as they contact the others for help. While lost, Cal and Claire get caught up in a storm. Back in Isla, the instructors have trouble finding the two due to the thunderclouds. While everyone is worried, Ignacio runs to an El Falcon, attempting to fly it. He has to be punched by Juan for him to stop, making the others think he isn't so bad after all. Inside their plane, Cal and Claire know they won't be rescued due to the rain. However, Claire says she isn't scared because Cal is with her. Ari, who decided to stay and wait for Cal and Claire, is accompanied by her friends. While waiting, she tells them about the night when Cal was brought home by her father. She reveals his parents had passed away and how her father couldn't leave him alone. At first, Cal never spoke, but due to her efforts and provocations, he opened up. Even though Cal isn't her real brother, she treated him like one. Ari silently recalls how Cal reacted when he saw a play about the fall of the Balsteros Empire, finally understanding his reaction as the former crown prince. When the rain finally subsides, Cal tries to empty the lifeboat that has water in it, but he falls in, taking Claire with him. They're embarrassed later on as they're naked while they dry their clothes off. Later, as they lay on the lifeboat, Claire reveals she's living away from her family. She gets suspicion that Cal is Carl Lahire based on the things that he told her about. The next morning, they're found. Ari tears up when she sees her brother. When Claire gets back to her mansion, It's revealed that she's Nina all this time. 4 months have passed, and the students have gotten better with their flying and their lessons. After the students' water training, the 2 instructors let the students do whatever they want. Ari convinces her friends to have fun swimming at the lake. Ari notices Ignacio just watching them and urges him to join in the fun. Relenting, he even helps prepare the food. Meanwhile, Cal and Claire are tasked to get firewood, but they manage to get lost. Afraid to get stranded again, they rush off and end up tumbling into the ground. The 2 end up in an intimate position and share a moment, but the dorm manager interrupts them. Cal becomes melancholic as he remembers the real reason why he's in Isla. The government offered him to participate in the Isla project to get rid of him. Cal only becomes interested when he heard Nina was also joining. The next day, Claire recalls what happened 9 years ago. When she was young, she could control the wind, and the people of her village feared her for it. When she was given away to the moneylenders by her mother, she blasted everyone away with her power. A man then showed up and offered her help. With her powers, they made her destroy the Balsteros Empire's defense. Cal's eyes when he angrily looked at her made her realize her wrongdoings. Ever since then, she lost her powers. A year before the Isla project is launched, Admiral Lewis invited her to fly with him. In the present, Claire runs away with Cal as she remembers his eyes from 6 years ago. During the match later, Cal and Claire aren't doing so well. Cal then tells Claire that he wants to be her partner and asks if it's all right with her. She answers she wants to be his partner too. Their performance significantly improves, and Cal manages to hit their target. At Luna Barco, Admiral Lewis and the Foreign Secretary talk about the Sky Clan, who attacks anyone who comes near the Holy Spring. That night, the Class B students set up a ramen restaurant in celebration of their arrival to the Holy Spring. With Ari as their head chef, the ramen proves to be popular. Chiharu and Noriaki get into a fight when the latter belittles Mitsuo. The tension dissipates when Cal arrives and states Mitsuo's good qualities. Later, Mitsuo thanks Chiharu on the swings, and they hold hands. The Council of Four receives a report of an enemy attack coming towards Isla. Commander Leopold decides to send out all planes to deal with the attack, including the students who can at least do recon. At the runway, Sonia calls out the pilots that are to stay behind. Cal, Claire, Ari, Ignacio, Wolfgang, and his partner Marco are chosen. Cal tells everyone to be careful while Mitsuo assures everyone that they'll do their best. Countess Ulshira waves to the group and takes Claire and Ignacio with her while the rest stays. When Claire asks why she has to leave, the Countess answers she's the governor. Luna Barco and the torpedo squad continue to barrage attacks on the enemy planes, but it seems like it has no effect. The Foreign Secretary thinks that the weak fleet they're attacking may just be a decoy. Alarmed, Admiral Lewis asks what the surrounding area is like. The ones who can answer are Mitsuo and Chiharu. The 2 spot large-scale bombers and a carrier filled with fighters. The 2 report this to the brass, and Commander Leopold quickly moves Luna Barco to change course. Class B hears that Mitsuo and Chiharu have spotted the enemy forces and are still in enemy range. Everyone is concerned, but they're told to be on standby. Later, Juan plans to get into the air to assist his 2 students, but Sonia points a gun at him. In the air, Mitsuo and Chiharu try hard not to be spotted by the enemies, and they're relieved when they finally see their allies. Mitsuo and Chiharu decide to fire a flare at the enemies to give their allies visibility. As soon as the flare lights up the sky, the enemies shoot at the student's plane. Luna Barco and the torpedo squad now have visibility, and they immediately shoot at the enemy. While the 2 students' planes evade enemy attacks, Mitsuo gets shot, but he doesn't tell Chiharu. He tells her to use the parachute and jump off as their allies will pick her up midway. He promises to follow her and make her promise that she'll become a pilot. Chiharu watches as their plane gets shot and blows up in the sky with Mitsuo in it. Back in their base, the students receive news that Isla is under attack. Fausto decides to respond, and he and the other nobles leave with their planes. Cal decides to follow them, and the rest of the group joins him. Countess Oshira is informed that they need to evacuate. Claire rushes off and Ignacio promises the Countess to bring her back, but he helps her instead when she can't get the car started. Cal and his group spot the enemy planes up ahead and below them. The 2 sides open fire at each other, and each side sustains casualties. The Class B students go to fight enemies on the ground, and they see paratroopers jumping out in the sky. Soon they're in a shootout with the enemies. Unexpectedly, they get help from the forest, which Sharon realizes must be Claire and Ignacio. In the air, Fausto decides to return to Escorial and take the lead. Fausto and Cal recognize each other's skills before enemies come attacking from above. Cal spots the Fox insignia on the planes, and the next moment, Fausto gets shot several times. Wolfgang and Marco protect Cal and Ari, their plane shielding theirs and taking the attack that's meant for them. Wolfgang dies, not regretting anything. Cal and Ari try their hardest to escape, but Ari gets shot. Cal is panicked, praying that Ari is alright. Suddenly, she wakes up and shoots the pursuing plane. His happiness is only momentary when Ari informs him that her bleeding isn't stopping. Cal promises to get her back to safety. However, his plane gets shot, and when all hope seems to be lost, they're saved by a single-seat fighter bearing a seagull insignia. The next day, Sonia and Juan survey the damage that the war left, thinking they paid a far too great a price. In Ari's hospital room, Cal cries as he feels helpless after everything that happened. Ari awakes and comforts him, telling him that he shouldn't blame himself. 2 days after the Sky Clan's attack, a memorial and funeral service are held. Claire, who's dressed as Nina, is heartbroken over the deaths. The remaining students of Class B mourn as they visit the graves of their fallen friends. Marco, who survived, weeps over Wolfgang's memorial. Ari tells Chiharu that everyone on Isla, and especially the Torpedo Squad, is thankful to Mitsuo, who sends her sobbing. That night, Cal couldn't sleep. He runs from the dorms and ends up at the memorial where he meets Claire. She tells him that she'll be quitting the flight school, saying she has no right to be his classmate. Cal tells her that no one blames her, but she tells him that she's been lying all this time. Cal doesn't listen as he kisses her before confessing his feelings. Claire looks conflicted, and he asks him if he was Carl Lehire. Cal is stunned that she knows his real name, while for Claire, this confirms her greatest fear. She tells him she loves him, and that's why she'll never see him again. At that moment, Cal sees the similarity between Claire and Isla's governor. Claire admits she's Nina before leaving. At Class B's dorm, Ari arrives while her classmates are eating, having just been released from the hospital. They tell her Chiharu is depressed, while Cal has been acting weird, all holed up in his room. When she goes up to see him, Cal snaps at her, making her remember how he used to be. Ari accompanies her classmates as they help rebuild the town. Suddenly, someone says that Nina is about to give a speech, and a crowd gathers around the carriage that just arrived. Everyone is in awe when they saw Nina, but Ari immediately recognizes her as Claire. Nina then assures everyone, saying this journey is Saint Aldista's will, and they will find her blessings at the end of the sky. After her speech, Ari runs to her, but she's blocked by her guard, who turns out to be Ignacio. He then helps her so she can talk to Claire. Claire tells her that Cal shouldn't see her anymore because he'll only suffer, but Ari assures her that she's going to do something. When she returns to the dorms, she goes up to see Cal again, but he doesn't want to talk. She then tells him that their dad had a boy who died as a baby. They used to be poor, but their dad didn't complain. He should have hated the Imperial family, but their dad took him and loved him as his own, and she trusts him to do what he can. At the same time, Nina is praised by Admiral Lewis for her speech, and she tells him not to call her Claire anymore. When Ari brings up Cal's dinner, she tells him through the door that she has decided on quitting flight school. She's decided on becoming a mechanic. She's surprised to see Ignacio, who then breaks into Cal's room. He tells Ari he'll be borrowing before dumping Cal on the lake. In a memory, Ignacio recalls his past as the son of the King of Balstros. He and his mother were kept secret from the world, and as the revolution drew nearer, they were kicked out of the palace and lived a hard life. He swore to himself that he'll kill the king and his son, Carl. Currently, Ignacio beats Cal up for being an idiot, not realizing how Ari and Claire feel. He further tells him that Claire will be leaving school because of him. Air raid alarms sound again. Claire is sent to board Luna Barco, while Ignacio is released from his duties. Admiral Lewis spots the enemy fortress ahead, which is another floating island like Isla. Commander Leopold issues an attack order to the flight students, saying their mission is to escort Luna Barco's observation plane. Sonia tells the students that she's quitting the military and requests them not to go on the mission because they will surely die. She has arranged for them to get on buses that will take them to the shelters. All the students decide to leave, but Noriaki and Benjamin decide to go. Cal arrives and also decides to fight. Ignacio volunteers to be his partner. After telling the boys not to die, the remaining girls of Class B leave. Later, the brass receives a report that students have arrived to escort the observer. Ignacio, who turns out to be a good shot, works with Cal to shoot down enemy planes. Noriaki and Benjamin manage to escape their pursuers, but they need to dive into another crossfire to protect the observer. Noriaki remembers Mitsuo as he launches their plane to help the observer. Meanwhile, the enemies are firing at Luna Barco. The enemies then deployed a smokescreen that only they can see through. Admiral Lewis convinces Claire to use her powers to blow away the smokescreen, and she tells him she'd been trying. Commander Leopold receives a report that 2 students have broken through the smoke and will now observe the enemy fleet. The 2 observe that the enemy's flagship looks on par with Luna Barco while having the advantage of the smokescreen. The enemies spot them, and they try to weave through the attacks as they give information to Luna Barco. With their information, Luna Barco almost manages to hit the enemy flagship, but Commander Leopold still has his doubts. Claire stands up to vouch for her friend's abilities, pleading for him to accept the information that they're risking their lives for. Commander Leopold relents, saying they will be the temporary observers. Noriaki flies close to the enemy flagship, while Benjamin gathers the most accurate information available. They manage to send the information before their plane is shot down by the enemies. Luna Barco loses contact with the secondary observers. Commander Leopold uses the coordinates they sent to gun down the enemy flagship. Benjamin wakes up and sees his right hand missing. Remembering Sharon, he becomes determined to stay alive. Benjamin and Noriaki then witness the enemy's ship get a direct hit before they escape, jumping from their plane just as it explodes. Cal then becomes furious over what his friends have endured, swearing to make the enemies pay. In Luna Barco, everyone believes that the student observers are dead, making Claire feel helpless. Suddenly, a group of enemy's planes guns down Luna Barco. The ship starts to sink as it just took a lot of damage. Just then, Claire locks eyes with Cal as the two boys' El Falcon passes by the windows of the ship. Admiral Lewis advises Claire to say what she needs to say. Believing she will soon die, Claire goes outside. She yells at Cal asking for forgiveness and says she's a terrible person for doing what she had done to him. Still, she loves him. Cal then remembers his mother's words and finally lets go of his hatred. He flies close to Claire and tells her to live. His words wake up the powers within Claire. With their control of the wind, she blasts the enemy away while bringing Luna Barco and the remaining El Falcon back to safety. 6 months have passed, and Cal has matured and is now leading his classmates as they respond to a report saying that an observation plane has just vanished. During dinner, Commander Marcos reveals that the Sky Clan is impossible to deal with. Due to their continued opposition, they can't even cross over the Holy Spring. They're interrupted when they receive a message from the Sky Clan offering a truce, but they want something in exchange. In the hospital, Noriaki and Benjamin's friends are relieved to know that they'll live. Their instructors arrive and they reveal that Admiral Lewis got them out of trouble. Sonia and Juan then reveal that the Council 4 has entered negotiations with the Sky Clan. They'll let Isla pass the Holy Spring, but they want Nina Viento in exchange. Elsewhere, the Council 4 tells Claire that the Sky Clan believes she is their prophesied girl who can call the wind. Admiral Lewis doesn't want her to go, but Claire believes it's her duty to go with the Sky Clan to protect all of Isla. That night, Cal tells Ari that he can't accept that they're sacrificing Claire. Ari asks him if he likes her, to which he answers yes. Hiding her disappointment, she tells Cal that they should meet up with Claire, and she has an idea how to do that. The next day, Ari marches up to the gate and yells for Claire to meet them. They're blocked by the guards, but Ignacio arrives then to let them in. When they meet Claire, Ari gives her a bunch of letters from everybody. She doesn't want to bid her goodbye, but only tells her that they'll meet again soon. She then leaves Cal and Claire to give them some privacy. Cal then embraces her and asks her if she wants to escape, but Claire refuses as she feels this is her battle to take. She gives him his good luck charm and tells him that they'll meet again. She leaves, but later on Cal chases after her, saying he'll be coming back for her. Ignacio, who'll be coming with Claire, promises Cal that he'll protect her. As he passes by, he calls Cal his stupid older brother.